Hey guys, we are live today with one of my favorite authors, Emily R. King, who out of all the people that I've had on this show, you're actually one of the people I've actually met in person. So, that's always awesome.
That's true.
But we're here for her newest book, Wings of Fury, which was amazing. Oh my goodness. I was just telling her that of all the books that I've read from her, The Hundredth Queen used to be my favorite. This one has kicked that one out of the stances. This is now my favorite book. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for reading and liking it.
It's amazing. It's so amazing. So of course, if I can find my list of questions on here that I had, that I am so prepared right this second. Of course, tell us about who you are and your book. And
well, this is my 8th published book. And it's a duology. So there will be another book that comes out called Crown of Cinders, and that releases in October. This is the first time that I've tackled Greek mythology. I almost always write mythology. The first series that I wrote is the Hundredth Queen. It was a 4-book series. I wrote about Sumerian mythology, and then my second series was Celtic mythology, and that's the Evermore Chronicles. And I told myself I was never going to write Greek mythology because I feel like it's so overdone. And I don't know. Everyone knows so much about it that it's hard to tackle it, right? But I was reading a line in a book that said that the Golden Age, which was pre-Olympians, was a time of peace and happiness for men. And I immediately stopped and I was like, yeah, but what was it like for the women? Because for the most part in history, anything that was good for men was totally bad time for women.
Right.
So think about what would have happened or what their lives would have been like. And that led me down the path. And I was like, okay, darn it, I'm going to end up writing Greek mythology. And it's kind of hard to do because the Greeks have several different versions of stories. So the origin story of Aphrodite, she was either the daughter of Zeus and Dione, or she was born of the water, after Uranus was castrated, his blood fell on the ocean, created foam, and then she rose from the water as a fully formed, perfect woman. And I'm like, so which one's true? So I had to research the heck out of it because I didn't just read one story. I had to read 50 different versions of everything, which was fun. But that's why I was like, I'm never going to write Greek mythology. It's complicated and everyone has
so crazy.
Yeah. So whenever I settled upon the version that I liked, I had to read every other version and then also be able to back up the one that I chose and be able to explain. So if somebody asked me, why did you choose this one? I'd have to be able give them a reason for it. So it's just
right.
So that's a little bit about how I came to this idea, but yeah, it's a big canon to take on to write. It really is.
There's so much of it. There's so much. It's crazy.
I know, but I'm glad I did it.
You're so good with it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No, it was fun. And I feel like I got to express my feelings about what I think about, especially Zeus. And I don't know, any other character. I feel like I don't know how to talk about my characters so much because a lot of it is giveaways, and having finished the book, you know what I'm talking about, right? I feel like I've got a little bit careful about what I say. But
it's like, I know, it's like I've got so many questions, but it's like I can't ask you them because they're all spoilers. How am I going to ask questions about this? And I'm like, okay, we're just going to have to do generalized writing questions and stuff because I can't ask anything else.
No, I know. And that makes it fun, but also anyway, it is definitely the women's version of what happened, and I feel like there's a big gap between what we know about the gods and goddesses pre-Olympia. We have so many stories about them after they dethrone their father and take over. But before that, everyone was young at some time, everyone.
Right. Yeah. See, you're making my brain work with all the Greek mythology stuff that I've gone through. Oh, that's right. Because Cronus is the father of like Zeus and everybody else, right? So this is all like before Zeus became head of the gods and all, and Hercules and all that stuff. Okay, see now I understand this.
Even building like the map that's in the book, what's interesting about it is that a lot of the popular locations on that map aren't like in this world. So we don't have Athens yet. We don't have Sparta yet. We don't even have Mount Olympus yet because the Titans were moving. So this is before Zeus was Zeus. This is when Zeus was nobody, you know? And that's, I don't know, it was hard to do that because I had to read all of the mythology after they were the Olympians, and then who they were as characters then informed what I wrote them as, how they become that. So it was like, so you know where they end up, but how did they start and how did they get there? So anyway, it was fun to write.
It's like a prequel.
It kind of is, like, to everything that has been written. I know. That's how it feels. So anyway.
So insane.
Yeah, and they're putting out the Hercules movie soon. Disney is doing a live.
Oh, they're gonna do live action. Yeah.
Yeah. And then did you see Wonder Woman?
All of those.
Did you see the second Wonder Woman?
Yeah.
What did you think about it?
See, I liked it. I think it was kind of, you know, just a way for her to reunite with, you know, the dude, but so it's kind of like a cop-out type thing. It's like a filler, you know, like we need them to get back together at least for a little bit, you know, and then rip it all away. But I liked it. Yeah.
Good. I did too. So, you know, her suit of armor that she's got in that, they put out the promo stuff for it after I had sold this book and sold, you know, the idea that the gods had wings at some point. And then I saw that.
Oh yeah, her outfit.
I know. And then I saw it come through and I was like, I did it first.
I did it before it was cool.
I did it before it was cool and mainstream.
Oh, so crazy. So my first question that is like completely book related to the story that I'm going to say that it's not technically a spoiler, but the tag that was burned into the back of the one girl's neck. I mean, is that something that they actually did in that time period that you found in research, or something that you just completely made up?
No, I made that up, but I mean, it came off of how women were treated in the time. Like I said, I went back to see what was it like for the women during the golden age. Right. They were possessions. They had no autonomy. They couldn't travel on their own. They couldn't act. Wrestling was big at the time. They couldn't wrestle. They couldn't get educated. They spent most of their time in four walls in their home serving their family. That is mostly what their life was like. So, you know, they would be partnered up or kind of sold off to a man at a very young age. And so the tag was more of just a visual representation of what they went through, because young girls were set up with husbands at 8 years old. And then when they were of age, they were married off. So they were kind of like cattle or chattel in that way. Like they were given away and bargained with, and they had no sense of control over their own fate, you know? So yeah, the tag was more of just so everyone knows this person's been taken. It's like a branding in a sense. Yeah.
That was so crazy. My goodness. So this book is like the prologue. I read it last night and I ended up doing like a short little log where I wrote just like the first little paragraph of it because it just gripped me so much. And your note about, you know, what it was like for the women. I mean, that was just so powerful. How did you plot out? Did you plot out the story? Did you just go for it?
I wrote the prologue first, and that's when I realized I had something there that was probably worth exploring. A lot of the story, because it's informed by Greek mythology, kind of had to write itself. And that's good in one sense, but it's also, like I said, it made the research side of things much more important. Because I didn't have as much creative power as I normally do. Does that make sense? Because I knew that I was working within the confines of what already existed. And there's a lot, like I said, a lot that's been written about these characters and these gods. So I just kind of, I don't know. I guess I wanted them to, especially the women of the time, to have a voice and to feel pertinent in the conversation. even the war against the Titans, we know what Zeus did, we know what Poseidon and Hades did. And, at the end of the war, when they take down Cronus, they divided up the world. Hades got the underworld, got the world, and Poseidon got the ocean. And the women got nothing. Their sisters got there's no way that you're not like involved in that at all. Like they fought their father the same way that their brothers did, So the fact that they didn't get anything out of it just kind of makes me a little like, they didn't just, these were titanesses. These were goddesses. They didn't just stand by and watch this war. They were right there alongside Zeus and they got nothing. I mean, they become Olympians. So clearly they did something right. But there's like this, like I said, a gap between like Cronus. How did they took Cronus down and then who they are afterwards? I mean, Hera is I've said the name. Hera is freaking terrifying. She's the only goddess that Zeus was ever afraid of. Right. He was terrified of her. I actually think he married her so he could keep an eye on her. I think he was a little worried that she might be his only competition. And
it's like you don't think of things like this, because I've studied Greek mythology and stuff over the years, being pagan. My patron deity is Hecate, who is a Greek Roman goddess. Yes. So it's like, you don't think about that, Zeus got to be the god, and then everybody else was, divided up the world. But then the women got like, oh, well, you're now the goddess of love, and that's it. You don't get an actual domain. You're just over here. That's right. So crazy because I've never thought about that before.
Well, and take Hera, for example. Zeus wanted to marry her. She said no. So he tricked her into marrying her. And then, she's known as now the goddess of marriage. So the woman who never wanted to get married to him, now that's what she's known as.
Kind of makes sense, why she was so vengeful and stuff, later on, because she was forced into a role that she didn't want.
Yeah. And that's what she's known as now. Yeah, I can understand. And that's why the title, the Fury part came out. Because I feel like that if I were Hera, that's how I would feel. I'd be like, so this is what I'm known as. This is what people read about me. This is all they see. She was so much more than that. She had to have been. No? Anyway. Yeah, but it started with the prologue and then I went from there.
That's so insane. So how many books are going to be in this series? You said 3?
Just 2 right now.
Two.
Is 3, but it actually worked out really well as a duology. I think a lot of, like I said, what we know about Greek mythology is after this. So it fits a lot better it just worked a lot better. So the second book, Crown of Cinders, is the war. So it's what happens. It's how they compete and how they take down Cronus. So. Okay,
awesome. So then what's next for you after this one?
I am working on a shark thriller right now.
Ooh. Well, I'm kind of surprised you haven't done something with sharks before now. Okay, if you guys don't know, like this lady goes and dives with sharks, okay? I might see something that's posted because me and the ocean are not friends.
How can that be? You live in Florida. One of the first places I went to Florida.
I like the ocean. If I want to go swimming, I like being in the pool where I can see the bottom and things aren't going to come and attack me. But I mean, I'll go shark deep hunting.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, I came up with this idea when I was getting on the boat to go out to Guadalupe Island to do cage diving with great whites. And I'm supposed to be on 2 other boats. Yeah. It's so fun. I've already signed up to go 2 more times, but with the pandemic, they shut down the island and shut everything down. So I'm just waiting for things to reopen and all that, and then I'll get to go. But I'm actually writing it as close to my experience as I can, because I realize that for the most part, diving with sharks to people is fiction and crazy. So I'm just writing what I know and what my experience was. But no, I love it. That's the next book. I've been researching a fantasy that takes place in Iceland during the witch trials. So I've been working on that as well. There's a lot that goes into that. I've read like 16 books and I still feel like I'm nowhere near where I need to be to write it accurately, but I'm working on that too. So that'll probably
well,
be
if you need any input about witches, you have somebody that has 20 plus years under their belt as being one. So, you have my email.
I would love that.
I will lend a wand.
Okay. I need that. I do. Yeah. It's a lot to tackle, and I want to do it right. So
right.
Yeah, do the Vikings some respect. Like, that's my soul.
Right. Oh yeah. So actually, the Greek stuff, I've got like runes and everything like all over me. There's the Greek alphabet over there in Japan. Yeah. I got everything.
You need to do that. I love that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the shark one, is that going to just be like a contemporary fiction, or is it going to have a magical twist to it?
No, it'll be.
They start talking to sharks or something.
No, it'll be a straight up thriller. I mean, something that kind of like the movies you watch. I feel like people just eat those up. They love and I just need to write it. So that's what I'm working on right now. And so far, so good. I mean, it's moving a little bit slow because I've been caught up with other stuff with the book release and all that. But I think that'll be my 10th published book. I think that's my goal.
Nice.
Yeah.
So is that one going to still be YA, or is it going to be adult, or?
It's going to be adult. It'll be adult. Okay. I want it to be, I think with thrillers, YA, you've got like a limit on how gritty you can make it. And I want to be able to make any type of thriller that I want. And I mean, the shark aspect of it makes it a little scarier for, I think, most people anyways.
Yeah. It's just like you got that fine line where you go in from thriller, then you start going into horror territory for the YA genres.
Right. And it's this, but adult, I feel like there's a bigger gap. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there so is. There really is. Because I mean, you can have murder and mayhem in an adult thriller, but it's still considered a thriller. It's like, it's weird that it's not like that for, other age groups.
No. Yeah. I'll probably make it. It'll be adult. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited.
Me too.
This one, how would you classify this one? Because like some things in it, I say would be more new adult versus young adult, especially like their ages. Everybody is at least 18. Mm-hmm. So what was this one classified as? Because I noticed it was like just 47 North. It doesn't say like anything else.
Well, that's a multifaceted question because before all my books were published under Skyscape with APUB, they're kind of getting rid of Skyscape. They're not actually.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when I came up with this idea, they gave me the choice to decide where I thought it should be. And I wanted the freedom to write just a little bit grittier than I would for YA. So I said, let's put it as adult. And then my editor left and they transferred pretty much everybody that was Skyscape over to 47 North. So, but I feel like Charlie Holmberg and Jeff Wheeler, they write very clean, and I hate that term, but there's no other term that we have for it. More, let's just say PG, like type fantasy, where it doesn't, maybe PG-13, it doesn't get as gritty. And I I skate that line a little bit more. So I think it works better in the adult market, but yeah, I don't know. I wish new adult was a thing. Like there's this
Hey, it is for me. New adult is so a thing for me because it's like that middle ground, because like between middle grade and young adult, you just have these books that are like that transitional book. And I think like this definitely goes right in between that, that it's great for people that are in higher YA, but then it's also great for people that are looking for something not as in-depth as most like, adult fiction is. Because I kind of don't like adult fantasy and stuff because you're trying to get pulled in like 80,000 different directions all at once and it gets confusing. And this is not like that. So it's kind of like that in-between thing and it works out well.
Yeah, it's like that
better.
It's like a cusp. There's like this little threshold. Yeah. And I mean, you don't know. I like the term crossover fiction where you can cross into different markets, but you don't actually know if your book does that until it does that. So, like, you know what I mean? Like you have to pick a market, but then the readers kind of decide where it belongs because whoever your reader is that picks it up, that's where it goes. And I don't know. That's the one nice thing about being published with Amazon is they're like, we'll market it to everybody. We don't care.
Which is kind of like it's kind of like the way that it should be, I mean, I do wish that the publishing world would do like Clean Teen Publishing does, where they actually have like ratings on the book, so then you would know beforehand, trigger warnings and stuff that's in it. Because unless the publisher does that or the author does that, there's no way for you to know.
No.
And I think it just makes it easier because we have ratings for everything else. We have ratings for movies and music and TV shows. Why not books?
Yeah, agreed. Well, and I never know how to answer that question. Like if someone says,
right.
is this clean? Because I don't read this or this and this. Sometimes I'm like, but for me, my standard is different. So it would be nice if we had it, if we had like
at least something to follow.
Yeah, because I don't ever want to lead them astray. Because in my mind, I'm like, it's not that bad. I mean, I wrote it so clearly, and I give it to my child to read. So clearly, I think it's appropriate. But someone else might have a different standard,
Right.
So
oh yeah, we have people coming into the bookstore I work for, and it's like these little ladies and stuff, and they're grabbing all like the really old Nancy Drew books. And I was like, I always wondered, like, do their grandkids actually read them? So a lady came in last week with her granddaughter, and she was showing them to her and asking her if this is something that she would read. And her granddaughter's like, no, that doesn't interest me. And I am just like trying not to crack up laughing because we finally got somebody in here to answer my question, So she like grabbed out like Five Nights at Freddy's and stuff. And she's like, this is kind of scary. Are you sure you're going to read this? She's like, yes. And so will her brother. And I was like, that's awesome.
It is awesome. I know. I even did that with a series of unfortunate events. And it's funny how there's certain books that work better in certain like times of life. But nowadays, my kids are like, I'm living that. I don't want to read that.
It's so crazy.
I know.
It's so crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I wish we had some sort of guideline or something so that I knew how to answer those questions, because I don't ever want to lead someone astray. But I don't know.
It's
I'm like,
so hard.
And
it's honestly, so hard.
If you start to read it and you get offended, put the book down.
Right.
Too. I don't want to offend you. I don't want to upset you. If that bothers you, you can put it down. It's okay.
Right. That's so crazy. So let's see. I had a ton of last minute emails from people asking questions. I was like, wow. I've been getting so many emails for people asking questions this year. That's like, I can't watch it live. Here's my question. Like, yes. Okay. So I put them all in here. Let's see if they're actually going to work. So have you ever been on a literary vacation? And I'm actually going to change the color of this because your book is red and this should be red.
Oh,
ooh, maybe not quite that red. Not quite.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's nice.
There we go. Like this dark red.
I travel. Well, I did travel. I traveled all the time.
So where's like the coolest place that you've been for like book research?
Iceland, top of the list. Everywhere I go, I feel like traveling for me is fodder. So because because I like to write fantasy, because I like to write immersive worlds, when I get to go somewhere that's really immersive, where I'm cut off from everybody and maybe my internet doesn't work, I soak it more. I feel present. I also don't have a whole lot of overhead in this industry. So I get to write off my travel if I take anything and use it. Right. So I use that as an excuse. I'm like, I can write it off. But I would go anyways. Iceland, I've been to Bali. I did shark diving in Fiji. Like I said, I did the cage diving with the whites off Mexico. India. I went to India, and I really would like to do Greece before the next book releases so that I can write some of that trip off. But I don't know with the pandemic if that's going to happen. I would love to do Rome and Athens and then go and do the Greek Isles. And I've been looking at their ferry system, which is really weird. You can get to some islands and you can't get to others and all. So I probably would need someone to help me so I don't get stuck in Greece. But yeah, totally.
Oh
there are worse places to be stuck, I guess, but it's very complicated. And I only really speak English, so I would be in trouble.
Right. Well, hey, as long as you have your phone with you, it can translate, most things.
Yeah. So, no, I love it.
Oh, that's crazy. Seriously, I keep coming back to like the shark thing. You should do like some epic fantasy where like some girl can control water and talk to sharks or something.
I know.
That'd be so weird.
I came up with an idea that was Iceland based, where I had my own version of like a shark in it. But I think I'm going to, and I'll probably figure out a way to do it in fantasy. But I think honestly, writing it is a thriller contemporary. That's the best way to do it. I mean, if there's anything that I write that's going to be turned into a script and made into a movie, it's going to be that.
Right. Well, I mean, sharks are so different because they're such weird creatures, you know, because they always have to keep swimming. They can't stop, you know, or they'll die, you know, and stuff like that because they are a fish. You know, it's not like you can just have a girl, you know, swimming around the ocean and playing with her dolphin, you know, you know, which is a lot more versatile. So it's very strange.
Yeah, it is.
Like sharks are always pegged as the bad guys.
I know. Well, and I'm not going to write them that way. I mean, they are sharks, so you don't want to screw with them, but not the Jaws style. That's not what I'm going to. Yeah.
I know a way you can spin it. You like some kind of shark shifter, you know, they turn into a human. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. I would definitely need to do that as a fantasy one day. I don't know. Oh, right.
Like that's the only way to really spin something like that because of the way that sharks are always perceived and stuff. It doesn't, I don't think it would work any other way. Because even in a lot of like YA thrillers and stuff that I've read and other fantasies that feature sharks, they're always like, this is what's coming after you, you know?
I know. Yeah. And
not fair to the sharks.
A lot of times they get it wrong and it makes me really mad.
Right.
Like, if you spend any time in the water with them, like you can tell when someone doesn't know what they're talking about.
Well, I've petted nurse sharks before, like 5-foot nurse sharks. Those things, they're just so cool.
Yeah, they are so cool. They're so like, they really are. I mean, unless you provoke them, they're gentle giants. You know, they really are. And if you respect them, yeah. I
think some pet shop or something had one like in this gigantic like tub thing, and then you could feed it like little fishies. I was like, this is like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, they really are.
What is the first book that gripped you growing up?
It was a picture book. It is The Paper Bag Princess. I don't know if
I've seen that.
It's about a princess who saves the prince, and he beats the dragon, tricks the dragon, and at the end, the prince is rude to her, and she calls him a bum and runs away and leaves the prince. It was a feminist thing that I read. You know, she outsmarts the dragon, saves the prince, and the prince is a loser, and she's like, I'm out. I love it. It's so fantastic. I own a couple copies of it, and I think, in fact, I bought the 20th anniversary edition a couple years ago, so it's been around almost 25 years, and it's probably my favorite. Yeah,
that's awesome. Let's see, what are some traps first-time authors make? I'm waiting to see a typo in one of these.
I think. Thinking that first book needs to be everything, and putting everything too much into that and not conserving some of your creativity to keep writing. We've seen, I don't know, it's weird. This industry is so bizarre. Like I will see these books come in with multiple starred reviews and it doesn't sell, and it doesn't go anywhere, and they don't win awards, and the author gets discouraged because they think that, well, I got this and this and this, so this is going to happen. You know, it's going to equal money or fame or a film rights deal or foreign rights deals. And there's no guarantees with anything. So I think just understanding that if you love to write, don't let anyone take that away from you. Keep writing, and don't let the fact that all these things that are out of control you, because they will. If you're not careful, you can get discouraged, and it messes with your muse. It messes with your creative ability. So just always make sure the person you're writing for first is you, and everything else is gravy.
Okay, somebody else stated that when we visited Greece, most everyone spoke English, so you will be fine and you will love it.
So you're saying I can go get lost in Greece? Okay. It's gonna happen.
I've always heard people say that constantly go overseas and stuff, like the two things you want to know how to speak in whatever language you're going to is where is the bathroom and where is the consulate, and you will be good.
Mine's going to be, where's the ice cream or the chocolate? Like,
what do you think is more important, plot or characters?
oh, that's a hard one because, you know, in fantasy, I feel like, especially in fantasy, your character is an extension of the world, but you probably hear your character's voice first. So it's like, it's really hard to untangle that. And I've been on panels where with other fantasy authors, and we all sit and argue this point. And I don't think that there's a right answer. I think it depends on the story, and every book is different. Sometimes the world or the magic system might come to you first, and that might be what sparks the character. And sometimes you hear the character's voice and you're like, who are you? And you explore their world. So I think it depends on your process. It depends on how the story comes to you. And it depends on what genre you're writing as well.
Right. Because I mean, it really does kind of go hand in hand, because especially for fantasy, you know, if your world building isn't up to par, that's going to be like the number one thing people complain about.
Right. Yeah. Because you don't want this character like a thief who is stealing things in a marketplace and there are monsters after them is different than a thief who grabs a gun and goes into a bank and robs a bank. You know, like the genre does change the character. They're both thieves, but the world is different. So they have different obstacles and conflicts, and that's going to form your character, you know? Like, so it's hard. It's hard.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, don't let your characters lack, but don't let your world lack either. You gotta have both. There's no one or other answer. You have to have both.
Yeah, you totally do. Yeah.
For a series, do you think each book should stand on its own?
Oh, 100%.
Nothing but series, yeah.
100%. But that's because, okay, I think I actually was laughing at myself the other day. So I wrote a 4-book series and then a 3-book, so a saga, then a trilogy, and this is a duology. And the next one I want to sell is 1. So you'd think that I actually don't. You think I don't like writing series? I do love them, but they're hard, especially that saggy middle, like that middle book. That can be.
But your books aren't like that, though.
No, but that's because I look at it as a story. Like there has to be an arc within an arc. So you have your overall arch of your story from beginning to end, and then you have each book. You have to have a sense of accomplishment. I mean, in fantasy, someone has to die. Like my character has to kill someone or sacrifice something. At least one person. They have to have a sense of accomplishment. Like you've got some growth going on. And I think unless you have a big enough world to create enough conflict to make that happen, to make that growth happen, you're going to get stuck. So you have to know going into it, how big can you make your world to craft that character into who they need to be? And do you have enough there? Is there enough meat there? And
I think we had this conversation for the 100th Queen when the last book came out and you came on the show, because we were talking about this, and it's like, you know, each book needs to stand on its own but can be connected to the overall story. And that's what makes a good book, because then you don't have those saggy middle parts where you're just kind of like, this is just boring.
You want your reader to come back and read the next one. You know, like if you're not done yet and your character's not done growing and you know that, you have to give them enough skin so that they'll come back and finish it. You know, and if it's not standing on its own, people go, meh, I'm not going to finish the rest of the series. We have other books to read.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. We just won't look over there.
Don't look at my shelves either.
Oh, no. Mine is like way worse than that. I've been transferring my big gigantic totes into smaller totes so I can put them on these metal shelves that I have the computer sitting on it right now. So I've got like books like are just,
oh my gosh,
just stacked everywhere.
It looks like a
you guys didn't see that? They're stacked everywhere. It's insane. But I've emptied out 1 full TBR tote this year, and that was my goal. So
already, was it last year or this year? You've done it since?
I did it last month.
There you go.
I cleaned out 1 full TBR tote, and I've got like 4 on this shelf, like 5 or 6 over there. I had like 12 totes total, so I've got a ways to go.
Yes, you do. I'm really honored that you read my book when you've got 12 tomes.
Well, you guys, for the show, you guys get priority, so got to read your books first.
Mm-hmm.
See, how did publishing your first book change your writing process?
Well, it made me realize I don't know how to write a book. Every time I start a book, I'm like, I don't know how to do this. What the freak?
Oh God, I was doing that last night because I was looking through all the books that I had started writing, and I was just like typing. I was like, this looks like.
You always feel that way, but every book is different, and I think all we have to compare it to is our previous experience. So I think it takes a lot of courage and bravery to stare down a blank page and humble yourself and realize it doesn't matter how many pages and words you've written, you're starting over from scratch every time, every story demands something different from you. And why would you want to do it any other way? I can't imagine sitting down and being like, oh, I got this. I know what I'm doing. Like, when I usually feel that after I like, oh, this actually turned out really good. But you go in realizing you have to leave everything on that page. And then when you get that sense of accomplishment, it's when you did it. It's when you were able to do it. And it's not perfect. Mm-hmm. You have to go back and fix it because usually it's garbage. but there's something to work with. So it's changed my process in that I realized I need to be patient and that it's okay. Revisions are necessary. It's part of the process. You can't fix a blank page. So just get it out and then like vomit whatever you need to, and then go back and make it pretty.
Oh goodness. So how many revisions did Wings of Fury have?
A lot, because it wasn't just, like I said, I was competing with the story that I wanted to write. And then I was like, so does that work in the mythology? And I'd have to like stop and start and stop and start and stop and start repeatedly. So it was a very different process for me than anything else that I had written. Probably 6 rounds. And then I went through it with my, because I had to get it right. I had to get it. So it was hard. Yeah.
See, what is one item you think all authors should have? This one's mine because I've gotten some interesting ones. Yesterday, the author that I did yesterday in the afternoon, she apparently has a hula hoop that goes around her chair when she's writing. So nobody's allowed to talk to her when she's within that hula hoop, and everything is like quiet around her. And that is her section where she has to stay and write. I was like, that's awesome. I have heard some crazy things, but that's the best.
That is the best. Yeah. I've heard one author trained her kids to say, hey mom, how was work today? When she leaves her office, like, because when she's in her office, that's it. And she comes out there like, how was your day at work, mom? And she never left the house. Right. I thought that was cute. My thing, I know this is weird, but a playlist, a really good playlist that puts you in the mood to write. I feel like it's like Pascal's bell. Like when you hear a certain song or when you have whatever your thing is, it'll just turn the creativity on. I've learned that there's certain music that all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's writing time. Because I've listened to it so often, it doesn't interrupt anything. It actually like triggers it. I was talking to, her maiden name is Cousins, Amy, Amy, gosh, her and Jay. I'm thinking about her maiden name, Amy and Jay Christoph. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah. So she was writing a middle grade at the same time that she was working on Illuminate with Jay. And I was like, how do you go back and forth, like switch just like this? And she's like, I have different playlists. I turn on this. Okay. I know that I'm writing this book, and I've always remembered that. And so, yeah, a good playlist, music. Yeah. Not a hula hoop for me.
What is the message in Wings of Fury, and what do you hope readers get out of it?
I think the biggest message would be that we have to remember who was writing the history books and who was writing the mythology. Like most of the Greek philosophers were men. We hear a lot of what we know about our history and about our mythologies that really does shape society and shape us. It's written by men, not by women. And there's another voice out there. There's another story out there. And we can see it. If you go looking for it, it's there. But just to remember that there are a lot of voices that have been silenced for a really long time. And that doesn't just apply to women. That applies to any minority group, anybody on the spectrum, the sexuality. We don't hear from them very often, and we don't have their history. So I want people to, perhaps when they're reading Norse mythology or Celtic mythology or anything, to maybe think what periscope they're looking through and realize it's like this big and we're missing so much. You know, I mean, you're talking about your witchcraft, right? Like your religion, you know, a lot of that was burned and retranslated by Catholicism, you know, and so you're missing even a part of your truth and your history. So, you know, just remember that there are pieces missing and there are stories that we don't have that hopefully we will find, or hopefully someone will have the courage to tell them.
That's awesome. Writing and family, how do you juggle? Because you have 4 kids, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I ignore them.
Well, your kids are like mine. They're all older though, right?
They are, yeah. I started when I decided I wanted to get published. I had my second child was 9 months old, and I would have, you know, those boppies, the breastfeeding things.
Oh, I love those things.
Yeah, around it, I'd be breastfeeding him and typing. Like, so I just always, I don't know. The fact that they keep me busy and they interrupt me has been really good, because I'll write and then I stop and then I think about what I wrote. And then when I get back to the keyboard, I am always ready to keep writing. So I juggle it in that I've learned to write in short bursts. And the good thing is there's no wasted time at the keyboard. When I come back to the keyboard, I'm ready to go. Like I am at work. But, you know, I write between loads of laundry and dishes and cooking meals and running kids to things. And I don't know. I think it's like anything else. If it's important to you, you'll make time for it. So I just make time for it.
So, and last but not least, because I completely forgot to ask you earlier, how do you pronounce these girls' names?
Don't ask me that. I mean, I
asked Suri. I asked Suri about the one sister that got kidnapped. Where's her name? Alexa pronounced it as Clora.
Yeah, Clora.
Or Clora, yeah, something like that. It's like, so what did you say it was?
Cleora, and then Bronte.
Cleora.
And then Althea.
Yeah, Bronte was easy, you know, because of the classic. You know, that one I was like, I know that one's Bronte.
Right.
No question about it.
Now, there's a couple names in here that I had to go, like, I try to choose names that I could pronounce because I type them so often. If I can't pronounce them, then I feel stupid.
Oh, God.
I know, but they are all Greek. They're just, it's, you know, what's interesting about the Greek names is a lot of them come from names of the gods, and they're gods that didn't exist yet in this time. So I was like, oh, I can't use like half the names that they have because.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because they're all based off the
later gods. Yeah.
Man, it's like all the work that you authors go through to, you know, bring a story to life and make sure that, especially something like this, that it's cohesive. That I would so screw up on something.
Oh, I'm sure I did. I tried not to. I had 2 editors and then a friend who specializes in mythology and is obsessed with Greek mythology. He was my former editor on like every other book that I did. They brought him in to consult just to double check that I
Oh, God.
And I'm so glad that he did, because I needed that extra like little bit of a parachute.
Right. It's like, okay, did I miss anything? Well, I normally, like, you know, if I can't pronounce somebody's name and I can't figure it out, I'll just like give them a nickname, you know, and they'll just have nicknames for the entire story, which doesn't help when I actually start talking to somebody about the book, because then I don't remember their full name because I can't pronounce it anyway. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? And I was like, this book. It was like, oh, you mean this? I'm like, okay.
That works.
So the other girl's name is Althea.
Yeah. But we know who they really are.
Right. No spoilers.
I know.
I was like, okay, so we gotta I gotta wait until the next book comes out. Wait a couple months after that one's back. Have you come back on the show and do like a complete, 100% like spoilers are okay.
Yeah.
Because there's just like you just want to talk about this. Like seriously.
I know. It's hard not to. It is.
I love this cover though, but I kind of wish they would have put the 3 girls on the front of it.
I know. It's weird how I feel like we're seeing lots of abstract covers back again. Remember that? Now it's coming back and I'm like, okay. And I think they went this route because I did say, let's make it adult, So I think it's
right.
But I don't know. I wonder what it would have looked like, but would that have been a spoiler? Like would someone have figured out, like, I don't know. Yeah.
Probably would have. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. I know.
Well, it's like last year, every single book that was coming out had like the people on it. Mm-hmm. And then what is it? The one by Dana Swift. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what it's called. And then the other one by Sarah something, Hennings, The Princess Will Save You. I kept getting those 2 books mixed up when I saw them because they're similar. Like they're almost spot on the same thing. And somebody would be talking about it and I would see the book and I was like, oh yeah, I read that. And I was like, wait a second, no, I haven't.
No, I know.
So similar. And that seemed like going on and on and on last year. Constantly. Yeah. Every time you saw a new book, it had people on the front. And now like that's all been chucked. And now it's animated covers and abstract covers. It's so weird.
It is weird. And it's weird how like I have the original cover to Sarah J. Maas's Throne of Glass, which
me too.
It's got this like really average looking girl on the front of it. It's not a cover. And then they revamped it and did everything. And the book did great regardless, but it looked like every other cover during that time.
Right.
Anyway, it's funny how they change things. But yeah, I like the abstract art. I think it works. And it says ancient Greece, which, was the big thing. But I don't know. I don't pretend to know that stuff, marketing, that kind of stuff. I'm like, whatever you guys want.
Except, me over here thinking I had it in my mind that it was about Sparta. I had no idea why. And it never dawned on me when I saw your other post about being dressed up and you were dressed up in Grecian clothing. And it never clicked that, hey, this wasn't Sparta. And I know that's in the banner and stuff. And I'm like, I apologize because I screwed up. I did that with the other book from last month. What was it called? What Big Teeth. My first thought that it was zombies, but I went and looked it up and it's about werewolves. And I was like, well, I'm glad I actually went and looked that one up because that would have been very embarrassing because that is like so far from what it actually was. Like, this is what I get for trying to make individual covers because last year I was just doing, January was all just one background and I was like, nah, I want to make them kind of individual so they, what is it? Stand out a little bit more, and it kind of backfired on.
Well, I think it's perfect, and honestly, I think it's a big compliment. Really, most people would think, "What would Emily write?" She would write Sparta. You're not wrong. Like I would. It suits my everything I've written. So that's a high compliment.
I could totally see you writing a scene like from 300 where the dude kicks the guy into the pit, but you got a woman doing it instead.
Yes. Yeah. That's something.
I could totally see that happening.
I like
because your characters are so strong-willed, and they are like these no-nonsense girls and women that they kick some ass. That is all there is to it.
Yep, they do. So yeah, that's a compliment.
That's why your books are so good,
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. This is fun. It's fun I miss people and I miss being able to do this. And like you said, you're one of the few that I've met in person,
right?
So that I know you. So it's nice.
Yeah. This is awesome. It feels like we haven't talked in forever. I was like, when you said you were coming on, I was like, wait, when was the last time I read a book from Emily? Oh God, it's been forever.
It feels like
I was so excited when Bookish First did this book for this month. I was like, yes, I knew it. I knew it. I had it and I knew it. I was like, they're gonna pick her for this month, because they always do. Every time you have a new book out, they toss it on there, and I was like, yes, because I wasn't sure if the finished copy was gonna come before the show. So like,
yeah, I know.
covered. We are covered.
I felt like the last year feels like 20 years, but I think because I put books out so close together, like 3 books in a year, waiting a year, people was like, where'd Emily go? Emily has a life.
Like, yo, hey, is she still alive?
I know. Yeah,
Did one
I
of
know.
those sharks finally get her?
Yeah. So I know part of me is like, get right in that next book. People are going to think you're dead again if you don't. Well,
oh goodness. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Oh,
thanks for reading. I'm glad you liked it. We'll do this again.
It was so good. Yeah,
and like
it was so good.
All spoilers. The next one, we're not going to be quiet about it. Okay.
Yes. Like, I'll get book 2, read all that, wait like 2-3 months, and then come on. It's like, it is full on spoilers. Don't watch it unless you want to be spoiled, because we ain't holding nothing back, because I have got like a note list on my phone of like type in. Okay, what is this about? I need to know. And it's like, I can't ask any of these.
I know. We'll do it. We'll do it next time for sure.
All right, guys, make sure you check out her book. The link to buy is below. Check it out, because it's amazing. Like, all of Emily's books, seriously, if you get any of Emily's books, you cannot go wrong, because you will read them from cover to cover and you will love them. And then you will be like, okay, Emily, where's the next book? Because, I need more. I'm going to lock you in the basement, and the only thing you can do is watch videos and type. And write, and that's it. That's all you're allowed to do.
We need to see that book. Stephen King's Misery. I want to do it with the male trapping the female author. And I know that there's a whole lot of stuff that's weird with that, and people would probably have a problem with it. But there's a way to do it where people wouldn't be totally upset by it.
Kind of almost sounds like an episode of Criminal Minds then.
Yeah. No, yeah. It would be the TV show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Do it.
On the list.
It's like, just do the whole list. Get it done. Well, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to join us next week when we have another 3 shows, where I will be talking with Maggie, the book reader, about the right swipe, which apparently is very steamy. She messaged me asking me if I had started yet. And I'm like, no, I won't read it until, the week of the show. And she's like, well, very steamy. And I was like, okay, so I've got some steam heading out for me. And then you can also join us on Friday as well for Corey and Haydu's newest book, One Jar of Magic, which is a middle grade. It's about a little girl that I guess they fill jars full of magic, but her jar is like not full.
Oh.
It's very little. Yeah, it's a middle grade. It looks very cute. Anne-Reese will also be hosting this show with us that week as well from the middle grade. And then Saturday we'll be doing The Bright and the Pale, which I think this is her debut.
Yeah.
Yes, it's her debut.
That.
Not pretty.
Yeah.
So pretty. So guys, make sure to join us next week, and we will catch you later. I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.